Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third of our series of virtual conference evenings. Welcome you all. I'm glad you could join us. Uh, I'm Randy Baldwin. I'm Vice Chair of MANCEA. And a little bit about MANCEA. Our mission is to promote renewable and sustainable energy. We're made up of a small group of dedicated volunteers that began the association in 2005. If you're interested in supporting our efforts, please contact me, Wayne Digby, Wayne Clayton, or any of the other board members. You can learn more about MANCEA by clicking on More and then About Us on the mancea.org website. This is where you register to attend these conference sessions. MANCEA works closely with other like-minded associations, including the Manitoba Environmental Industries Association, Manitoba Electric Vehicles Association, Manitoba Geothermal Alliance, and Sustainable Buildings Manitoba. We'd like to acknowledge that MEIA, MEIA, or the Manitoba Environmental Industries Association, is a supporting partner of MANCEA. MEIA partnered with MANCEA to present a series of webinars this past year and to launch these conference sessions. Sarah Neal is MEIA's Office and Finance Administrator, and she's acting as our webmaster, helping us to keep on track this evening and has for the other two evenings as well. Jack Winram, MEIA's Executive Director and a member of the MANCEA board, will join us later to discuss MEIA's ongoing support and collaboration with MANCEA and talk about some of MEIA's key initiatives. As well as our supporting sponsor, MEIA is, we'd like to thank our platinum sponsors, Evolve Green, Golden West Communications, and Access Credit Unions, and our gold sponsors, PowerTech and PowerTech and MEIA are our key sponsors for this evening. People will find that if they click on the side-by-side view, it will give them the best view of the presentations this evening. If you have questions at any time, please go to the Q&A, which you'll find bottom center of your screen, and put your question in there, and we'll have a question and answer session after each of the presentations tonight. We'll do our very best to answer all your questions. Tonight, we'll learn about how biomass can play a significant role in powering the next generation of farm traction implements and farms. We'll also learn about details of a new student hub at the University of Manitoba Riddell Faculty of Environmental Sciences, and about MEIA's initiatives, as I mentioned earlier, including efforts to support the creation of new jobs and sustainable energy and related fields. MEIA's survey related to sustainable energy workforce training needs will also be discussed. After these two presentations, actually three presentations, sorry, MANCEA annual meeting will be held, where we'll highlight the activities of the last 2 years, in fact, at this time. I'd like to introduce Dennis St. George, agricultural engineer and principal of SANDGEO. I probably mispronounced that, Denny. I apologize for that. The next generation of electrification is coming forward at a rapid pace. Vehicles and trucks are currently leading the transition. Agriculture, forestry, and construction equipment are now poised to go fully electric as well. Learn how biomass will play a significant role in powering the next generation of farm traction implements and farms. What's driving this outcome, and how it closes the loop to a more sustainable future. Denny's career has spanned 4 decades in the agricultural and energy and transportation sectors. Over this time, Denny has built extensive experience applying and demonstrating technology to mitigate climate change, create renewable energy, and tap the bioeconomy. Viewed as being 10 years ahead of his time, Denny's foresight and expertise focuses on technology application and demonstration of the agricultural, energy, and transportation sectors. Audience members, please remember to submit your questions in the Q&A, and Jack Winram will join us to moderate the Q&A session following Denny's presentation. With that, Denny, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Randy. Can everyone hear me okay? Got a thumbs up there. So good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I hope you're going to enjoy tonight's presentation. It's based on some of the work that's been ongoing in the company here, and I won't be featuring sort of the whole initiative because of time. I'm just going to kind of narrow it down to the tractor. So that'll be the focus of tonight. And I'll also kind of tweak it more towards Western Canada and a grain production system, because farms can be quite diverse, you know, if you're talking about a cattle operation or a grain operation or whatever. So it's really taking you on a journey here tonight, and so I hope you're going to enjoy it. So the recurring themes tonight, there'll be two essentially. Change will be the norm, and doing more with less. And just keep those two items in mind. They're going to be kind of key to the whole thing. So essentially what I'm going to do tonight is be taking you on a journey, and we're going to start about, I'd say just over 100 years ago, and we'll maybe push ahead about 30 years into the future. So we'll look at that. Now, on this journey, it's going to be driven to a large extent by technology, but also by what I call an overreaching need because of things that are changing in society with climate change and so forth. There's going to be a little bit more onus on us to make certain changes to rectify where we are in time. So those are kind of two key elements of this journey. So essentially it'll be a story. I'm going to give you a scenario development, you know, and we'll walk through it. And, you know, first of all, how did we get to electric in the first place? You know, that seems like the farthest thing you can imagine when you're on the farm right now, driving a tractor down the field. And then how would biomass fit in? That's kind of the other really unique characteristic here. So I'm going to try to answer those two in this story. But first, I'll just give you a little bit of information about the company. It's SANDGEO is the name. And the world is coming up against a big challenge now, and it's a unique challenge in that we're kind of entering what's referred to as a renaissance, where a lot of new technology is going to be coming forward and coming forward at a very incredible rate. And just for instance, some of the things I've read, they figure there might be more technology coming in the next 40 years than we've had in the past 1,000 years. So things are going to change at a really fast pace. So what that means, though, is you have this need. You have to be aware of the technology options out there. And ideally, you want to be fairly knowledgeable to make your best decision. And I'll kind of compare it to if you have an investment advisor and you're investing your money in different companies, stocks, bonds, whatever it may be, you usually will go to get some, call it quality advice. And that's kind of the role we're looking at fulfilling with the company here is we move forward in this rapid pace of technology, being able to guide people so that they're making the best choices possible. It really comes down to the idea of applying and demonstrating technology. And the areas we primarily focus on are mitigating climate change, deepening the use of renewable energy, and tapping the bioeconomy. And there are sectors really focused on are agriculture, energy, and transportation. So that's kind of the chief expertise category. This is just an example of some of the services. It ranges from anywhere from awareness and training, networking capacity building, implementing and managing your projects. So there's a host of that. So you can contact us for any details on that front. So now that's kind of enough about the company, but essentially what I'm really talking to you about tonight is what we call technology forecasting. And technology forecasting relies on a number of different techniques, and the graphs up here on the screen are just examples of some of the the approaches you look at in technology forecasting, what we call the experience curve, the adoption curve, elements of value, excuse me, and barriers and accelerators. So underlying the presentation tonight would be a lot of this type of information. You know, these are things that are really triggering certain movements in the technology scene, you know, because of what's coming forward. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. But as I mentioned, I'm really going to focus on the idea of scenario development. And it's quite a useful tool, and it's especially for when you have an audience like this where you know, it's something fairly complex to be communicated. There's a lot of uncertainty in certain areas, and I suspect that the broader audience is relatively non-technical. So this is where we're going. So I'll try to give you a snapshot of the future. Hopefully it's all believable. It'll all be kind of based on quantitative and qualitative data. It does require some imagination, intuition, and ultimately scientific analysis, but I hope you do enjoy it. So as I say here, let's get some traction. So the diagram there is just a very simple traction diagram. The blue circle is the tractor wheel. And the items of interest are the T and omega and torque and rotational velocity. So that's where the energy goes at the end of the day to drive the wheel, and the wheel has to compete against various forces acting on it, whether it's the weight of the tractor, the soil conditions, the friction in the system, what it's being forced to pull, for instance. So when we're looking at the energy, this is where the energy is ending up. And you've always probably heard this term wheel to well. Well, here's the wheel. And the goal really is to turn that wheel as fast as you can. That's the VA, or the velocity of the machine or implement. And typically that makes you a little more productive when you're out on the field. So I'm going to start a bit in the past here. So this is in 1909. This is a typical threshing crew. And actually, this is a crew that my grandfather worked on. So he's one of the gentlemen in the picture there. And we have a large steam tractor driving the threshing machine. So back at these days, you can see there's some horses in the picture, and you know, horsepower was literally what it was. Some of the larger farms probably would have relied on large steam tractors to do the field work, but in general, it was probably horses were doing the draft work on the farm. So that's kind of where we will start. And let's skip about, not quite 30 years, but this is the early 1930s. So this is my dad out on the cultivator at the farm, and we still had the horses then. But essentially, this was the decline of the horse era. The gasoline-powered tractor was starting to come to fame. And I wouldn't doubt that shortly after this picture was taken, the horses were sent packing. But that's just to give you an idea of where things were at about that point in time. And here, let's go another 30 years or so, and this is me sitting on the Model E John Deere at the farm, and this was a gasoline tractor. But about this time is when the diesel tractor was starting to come to fame. And again, this type of gas tractor was pretty much on its way out about then. And let's go another 30 years, and here we are in the early 1990s. And this is, you know, typical two-wheel drive diesel tractor. Unfortunately, this was the tractor we had at the farm, or the type of. This is not a picture at our farm, but I just threw it in there to give you some perspective. So essentially, this is the point where probably the demise of the two-wheel drive tractor as we knew it from a diesel perspective was starting to happen. And after that, large four-wheel drive diesel fueled tractors were becoming the mainstay in agriculture. You know, some of these tractors around, they're typically more of a utility tractor now. So here we are today, and and we have some very modern, very productive farm equipment. And I had attended a Canadian Society of Agricultural Engineering conference in 1996, and we had an OEM, one of the big farm equipment OEM manufacturer engineering reps was presented to us, and they actually presented this to us. So this was what 25 years ago, I knew this is what it was going to look like. And essentially a farmer was going to own 4 pieces of equipment: a large four-wheel drive tractor, air seeder, sprayer, and combine. And this is where we've matured to today. So, you know, pretty specialized equipment, very costly, but it's very productive in terms of what it can do. I'm going to run you through some slides now. Just it's kind of the statistical side of things. And again, this kind of plays on when we get into the future, how things may roll out. So I thought it was kind of important to give a kind of a scene of Canadian agriculture. You know, this is all from Statistics Canada, and what we have pictured here is the red line is the decline in the number of farm operations in Canada. So it's gone down almost by half since 1971. And this 2021 will be a Stats Canada year, so there'll be new data coming, but I anticipate that line will still be dropping. But overall, the number of farmed acres has gone down a little bit, but the number of actually cropland acres is kind of still on the rise. So it's just to give you some perspective on that. There's about 80 million farmed crop acres in Canada. Now, what this picture is the average for the age categories of farm operators in Canada, and it's heavily weighted to the older categories. I don't know what the average age is, but it would be probably well over 55 right now. And it's doing a comparison. The light blue is 2011 data versus 2016 data in the darker blue. But all I want to point out is that we do have an older audience that we're looking at, but there are new entrants in it, and it appears that the rate of increase of new entrants is up in 2016, which is positive because you still need new farmers to replace old farmers as they retire. This picture is just depicting tillage practices from 1991 to 2016, and the red is no-till seeding, and the lighter blue is conservation tillage. So it's really just highlighting the trend that tillage practices are changing such that it is taking better care of the soil, minimizing potentially erosion losses, organic losses, and so forth. So this is a trend that's there. This graph is highlighting a picture of technology being applied by farms. So it's just looking at automated steering, GPS, and GIS mapping. So the dark blue is the automated steering, and the light blue is GPS technologies. Those are the two predominant ones highlighted here. And it's just based on the farm sizes. So generally, the bigger the farm size, the more it relies on these kinds of technologies, almost to the point that it's like everybody's doing it essentially at that point. So this is just to showcase that farmers have been adopting some of these new modern technologies. And just one more here, kind of on the stats side. I just wanted to show you, this is receipts of renewable energy in Canada in the year 2015 at farms, and it's just classified by different revenue categories. But what I want to point out is essentially farmers are using renewable energy or benefiting from it through revenue sales. So it is kind of part of the farming operation now, so they won't be totally naive to it in a sense. So this is just to kind of highlight that situation. And lastly here, I just wanted to show you, this is just value of tractors comparing 2011 to 2016. And if you look at this one, over 149 PTO horsepower, it was a fairly significant increase in that 5-year period, so much so that large four-wheel drive tractors or tractors over 149 PTO horsepower are more than 50% of all the tractors in Canada now. And the total value is about $9.4 billion. So that's just to give you a sense of what what's out there is, how can you shift that market? What might shift it? It's a fairly big market in a sense. So I just wanted to plant that seed with you to give you an understanding of where we've been in terms of farming in the past, where we are now, what are some of the trends, and then we'll start walking into the future here very shortly. So maybe just to summarize again, we have an equipment model that was really set in the 1990s. It's highly dependent on fossil energy. It's large scale, highly productive equipment. We generally have very large size farm operations now. Farm operators are relatively old, but there are some younger entrants. So, we can still maintain the fleet. Better and better soil conservation practices are ongoing. They're always integrating new technology, and they are incorporating renewable energy. So with that in mind, let's start walking into the future. So now is the big game changer is that the drive on the tractor is going electric. Essentially, all the large OEMs in agriculture, construction, trucking, they're starting to integrate electric drive into the machines, and it's primarily from performance characteristics. It's getting better performance, better power, better load distribution, all these kind of characteristics out of the equipment. But in my mind, this is going to be a bit of a game changer now, because once you go to an electric drive, then the question is, well, what are you using to power that drive with? And that's where, if it's electricity, that's where renewable energy can fit in quite nicely. So I'd say that's the next logical step is the use of renewable energy to power those drives. And there's a picture here of a Fendt E100. That's I think it's 150 kilowatt maximum power output. And it's kind of interesting with electricity, you can kind of tweak your power around a little bit and get it up there. And so this is a commercially available tractor you can buy today. I don't know if there's any available in Canada yet, but this is the goal that I think we could move towards. So I'm going to show you this little video. While it's playing, I'll just talk a bit. And it's one of the concept tractors from John Deere. And it's a pure electric drive. And their aim is to have it, I believe, battery powered. So again, I guess the goal is zero emissions. Again, the idea of doing a lot more with less. You know, you see it's a much more compact package. Fairly high power, 500 kilowatts available. The implements are integrated into it. And has a fairly good speed by the look of it on the field. Overall, it should be a lighter implement, so less soil compaction, which is a plus. Of course, no driver. So this is just to give you a sense of what's coming down the road. So, you know, with that in mind, you know, really what would be driving electric drive beyond performance in agriculture anyways? And there's sort of three major areas developing as autonomy, precision agriculture, and artificial intelligence. And precision ag has been coming on quite strongly, let's say, in the last decade. And, you know, when I showed the aging farmer situation, you know, that kind of plays on the whole idea of the availability of workers on the farm. And that's what's driving some thought towards autonomy, because you don't need somebody to drive a tractor. That just kind of eases the operation. And then with artificial intelligence coming online, it's going to further enhance the precision ag area where you can really target the needs of the crop or the soils, for instance. So these factors, they play very well with an electric drive because it's just kind of all with computer control and automation and so forth. If you can have a computer driving an electric motor, ultimately, it just kind of eases the thing. If the computer's trying to drive a diesel, it's just a little bit more complicated. So it's really driving it towards the integration of all these concepts. So now again, I see it as an opportunity for the farms, and it's really the idea that they could go fully renewable energy driven, and all the while they'd be gaining greater productivity. They'd be getting a smaller package probably for doing the farm work, easing up on labor, gaining all the efficiency of autonomy, precision ag, and AI technology. So far, change has been the norm. It's been that way since 1909, and I don't see it any different as we go forward. And the whole key to going forward is doing more with less. And that's one thing John Deere pointed out in their presentation I was at. Essentially, that's one of the key elements going forward. We've got to be able to do a whole lot more with less. Now, the key to using renewable energy for farm equipment is that the firm energy capacity of the renewable energy source has to match the effective field capacity of the farm equipment. So what does that mean? What it means is essentially you need to have enough fuel in the tank to do the job. And this is where certain renewable energy technologies, over a longer period, they can produce a lot of energy, but you need that long period. Whereas in agriculture, you're typically jamming a lot of activity into a very short time frame, with seeding operations, maybe a couple weeks, 3 weeks, harvesting operations, maybe 5 weeks kind of thing. Spraying, maybe two weeks. So a lot of energy is expended in a relatively short period of time. So you need a renewable energy supply that services that need. And that's the real key. The real candidates that I'll be looking at here, I'll call it renewable natural gas, liquid biofuels, green hydrogen, green ammonia, possibly electricity off the grid if it's renewable to begin with, and then what I call sustainable biomass. So in a sense, don't think of all these as energy sources. For instance, green hydrogen, that's really a carrier or a storage, depending on how you look at it. So first of all, there's the renewable natural gas and liquid biofuels. And these are already available to us. And they haven't been picked up in a major way, like the tractor depicted there is Ford's methane powered tractor. You could have a biogas supply that would be cleaned up and you could compress it and package it up on the tank there, and away you go. Excuse me, but it's just one of these things that has not yet taken off in our part of the world. Biodiesel has been around quite a while. And I think what it stems from is just these products are really not widely available. And then typically the cost of commodities like oil seeds have been high. So that makes the price of biodiesel high. And so there's no real reason at this point, for people to change their practices. So there's kind of these limitations there, and I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon. So really, I think this is going to be just more of the interim solution, looking at some of these. But ultimately, biomass is the core ingredient, and that would be a renewable source. Green hydrogen is another option. Now, green hydrogen is actually made from renewable energy. So you need that first, renewable electricity, I should say, first and foremost. And the picture depicted there is the tractor that Ellis Chalmers built, fuel cell tractor in the 1960s. And I can't remember the exact horsepower. I think it had about 16 horsepower in the drawbar. But this is at the Smithsonian Institute now. So that was done and sort of proven. The picture down below here is from China, and it's a hydrogen autonomous tractor. So the technology is being developed. There's not really anything I'm aware of in North America that's being worked on right now. But hydrogen is one of these things. It's kind of like nuclear energy or nuclear fission. Or fusion. It's always been 30 years away, and it seems like they're always kind of in that chronic mode. Now, there's probably promise with it, but what the big issue is essentially the overall efficiency, because if you're taking renewable electricity to make hydrogen, you lose a lot of the energy in the process of getting the wheel turned at the end of the day. So then the question is, well, should you just not take the electricity right to the wheel? So you're gaining efficiency. Then the other thing we're up against in North America is we don't have any infrastructure for hydrogen, and that's a major cost going forward. So again, I don't know if this is something we'll see anytime soon. So just kind of position it that way. Now, green ammonia, it's essentially a form of green hydrogen. So you take the hydrogen and you basically produce ammonia with it, and ammonia can be used as a fuel. And it's probably one of the ones that has a better chance of success, I think. Now, whether it will be for tractors, I'm thinking likely not. It's probably going to be destined for bigger loads like large ships, maybe rail applications. There are a couple projects ongoing. There was the Schumacher project in Iowa. That's the blue tractor here in the corner here. And I think it was an internal combustion engine fired on a combination hydrogen and green ammonias. And then the University of Minnesota has a demo project going in Morris where they're using anhydrous ammonia. Similarly, I think it's just an internal combustion engine tractor. So that's kind of the state of where this ammonia world's at. It's very, very early days. It's kind of where I would say batteries were 20, 25 years ago. So again, they're a little bit behind. So I think that's going to have a play on whether green ammonia will turn out to be your prime fuel source for the farm tractor. So the option now is grid supplied renewable power, excuse me, and it could go directly through a charger to the battery on the tractor, or Deere has been developing a cabling system actually, so that the power cable runs the tractor. So there is some potential for grid power to be the supply, but there is ultimately a limit because the grid is not very strong when it comes to rural areas. On a single phase 400 amp service, which is a large single phase service, you're only going to get about 75 kilowatts of kind of continuous power flow. So it's good, but in terms of charging these systems or running them, you're either going to have a pretty small tractor at the end of the day, or you're going to be limited at the amount of use you can get out of it. So there's this, call it, limitation of supply on that system. Now, this is where I've been mainly focused on, is looking at the idea of converting the biomass, and ideally the biomass on the farm, and making that the electricity for powering the farm, and specifically the farm equipment. So it's the idea of integrating the conversion and the ultra-fast charging into one. So what's depicted there is Kubota's concept tractor, autonomous electrically powered tractor. So there's some very promising technologies emerging now that looks like they could make this work. Now, it's still early days, so a lot of things have to work out on the economics. But in terms of closing the loop, I see it as the ultimate for the farm, because no longer would they be dependent on external fossil sources. They would have all the benefits of this modern farm equipment, and then ultimately they're supplying their own fuel needs. Now, I'm going to say the landing point is going to be batteries for the tractor. And the reason I'm saying that, I'll just use the Formula E example. And Formula E is the electronic race car sector. And it's been running, I think, about 8 to 10 years. And they're currently developing what they call the Gen 3 battery. But just to kind of show you how their growth has gone, the Gen 1 car, it had about a 200 kilowatt power output. And in order to complete a 45-minute race, you had to switch cars during the race. Now they are working the Gen 2 cars, and they have an output of about 250 kilowatts, and one car can do the 45-minute race. And I think they go up to 280 kilometers an hour at top speed. So the Gen 3s are going to be upwards of 350 kilowatt output, and one car to complete the race. So what's driving that is some tremendous technology going into battery management is what it is. So there's a lot of plus on the battery side. The industry is actually, or the Formula E is actually powering itself with renewable energy. And this is an example of their power units. It's basically a glycerin powered generator, and that's what they use for charging the cars. So this would be the concept for the farm. I see the analogies are, you're running the race, you got to get the crop off the field, you need to get the fuel in the machine and get it out there and get it going, get it back, and that would be the goal. The other thing behind why batteries are probably going to take the top is that there's a lot of investment and development work going in right now, so much so that the battery designs are maturing very quickly. A lot of new material designs are coming. Megawatt charging technology is being developed, standards around it are being developed. The battery management software is becoming very sophisticated. And the graph highlighted there, it's just the depicting the drop in battery price and the increase in supply. So, again, I think with the green ammonia, green hydrogen, they're going to miss the boat because I think batteries are going to become the standard to go with, especially in the load category for farm tractors. So I'm almost done here, but we're not taking you through this journey. So right now, I guess I'd say, I don't know, maybe we're 10 years ahead. Hopefully everybody's looking like this in the year 2050. But with electricity, and it's very efficient, and with autonomy, you don't have to go with one big tractor. You can go with lots of little tractors, lots of little pieces of equipment, reduce the compaction on the soil, finesse the whole system. So of the pictures I showed you in the past, this is kind of my view as to what the next generation of farm equipment is going to look like. So it's going to be quite a different sector. So I hope you've enjoyed that presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be willing to take a stab at them here. And oh, hi, Joe. I see you're there. As always, the most interesting presentation from Denny. Thank you very much, Joe. Kind words.
Thank you for the presentation, Denny.
Sure.
Great job.
Yeah. And my contact info is there. So if there's any follow-up, you're most welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email.
Okay. I'm sure there'll be some questions coming in from the group, but I'll start off with a couple. You mentioned you started off the presentation on the investment side of things. Where geographically do you see that investment happening the most? Is Canada poised to take advantage of that, or are we talking Europe? Are we talking Asia? I'm curious on that front.
Yeah. You know, I can't give you an explicit answer, but this is what I feel will be the outcome. And it's kind of the analogy of like I've done work in Africa, and they're in need of tractors, basically, you know, modernization of their agriculture. They really are fortunate. They have an opportunity to jump a whole level of technology here. And that's what they did with cell phones, for instance. Like they never had landlines, but you go to Africa and everybody's got a cell phone. And I think this is where the primary market could be, because the need is there, and you know, they're fairly sophisticated now. So I think that could be an entry point. It's going to be a harder turn in the North American market because of the model we currently have. And the major manufacturers are heavily vested in this big equipment. So it's kind of the analogy of the Tesla coming up and competing with the Ford and GMs. And Ford and GM make a lot of money off their gas vehicles. And are they going to want to make electrics? And now they're having to make electrics if they want to be part of the future. So you can see that shift occurring. So I think the initial will be in sort of developing countries, and then in the longer term, it'll start to emerge in our part of the world.
So you mentioned a couple of multinational companies like Ford and John Deere who are making some investments into this type of thing. Manitoba has a large manufacturing agriculture industry, you know, MacDon, Versatile, Bueller. So are you aware of any Manitoba companies that are starting to kick tires or invest in these technologies?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not aware of any Manitoba companies. I know that Canada has a lot of excellence in the batteries, and I think some of it's in BC and Nova Scotia, Ontario. But I'm not just aware of anybody. You know, I guess we have New Flyer and, you know, the work being done at Red River. So there are related activities, but I'm not just aware of the ag market picking up on this yet.
Interesting. Yeah, and of course, I think Manitoba has some lithium deposits, and you mentioned you know, we could potentially be part of that supply chain for battery development. So one check for Manitoba. So
you may be aware there's large silica mines developing in Manitoba, and that's kind of connected in a sense, because, you know, the silica may end up in the tractor controls or the autonomous controls or whatever.
Okay.
So there's probably connections there.
Lithium and silica. Okay. We have a question from Clint Gavers. With so much demand for biomass in various areas of ag energy production, is there a worry about depleting soil organic matter, which is already in short supply?
Yeah, and that's why I use the word sustainable biomass. So you can't rape and pillage, I guess, is the analogy, because it won't be sustainable. So it comes down to looking at the types of crops that are growing, and, you know, how frequently could you do that harvest, I guess. But in general, there should be material available, because the primary organic contribution to the soil is in the root component of the plants. And so kind of what's left on the surface will essentially burn off and go to atmosphere. All we're doing is collecting that material and putting it through a system to basically borrow those joules of energy out of it. So in general, I think organic content in soils in Manitoba, at least probably Western Canada, I think it's stabilized. And I guess the goal would be to increase it, but whether, I can't give you a definitive answer as to how much it could be increased by, by leaving more material on. I suspect not a whole lot more, but.
Okay. We have a question from Mark Lowen. How will biofuel be converted to electricity? Is this tech already being produced?
Yeah, there's kind of a host of things out there. Like it could be biological or it could be thermochemical. There's this one technology I'm aware of being developed, and it's a catalytic technology. And basically you use a fairly simple gasification process. And then the gas is reacted in a catalyst to basically make a more pure gas. And the opportunity being afforded there, it makes a much smaller scale package, and then the smaller scale, higher productivity, lower cost, is kind of what comes in. I was also looking at a technology, and it was using huge covers on straw to create anaerobic conditions in the straw piles, and you could harvest the biogas. So in that scenario, you could take it directly to your biofuels line, or you could maybe make power and then charge batteries, for instance. So that's just a couple examples.
We have a question from Joe Catani. What, in your opinion, are some supply chain technology opportunities for Manitoba firms?
Yeah, like, the whole putting a system together, I guess, because right now what's out there are a lot of pieces, but it's kind of like pulling all the pieces together to create the new platform. And I think there'd be a lot of associated services around it. How do you manage the charging infrastructure? Does the farmer actually feed the charger? Is that a service provided by someone else, for instance? So I don't have a lot of specific examples, but those are the kind of ideas I think it's creating the whole platform and servicing the platform and maintaining it going forward.
There appears from your slide deck that there's some R&D going on around the world and North America in this area. U of M has a fairly large agriculture department. So are you aware of any University of Manitoba or perhaps University of Brandon or other post-secondary education institutions that are doing some research?
I know Karen Wittenberg was quite instrumental in setting up the nickel facility at the research farm south of Winnipeg. And it was related to the environmental aspects of agriculture, and kind of doing measurements there. And I think that whole concept is a good fit if it's still operating as it was intended. Something like this would be a natural place to kind of develop and demonstrate it and, create a center of excellence around it. But I haven't kept pace with, what the research is going on in the Faculty of Agriculture there. So maybe someone knows better and they can tip me off there. I appreciate that.
Denny and Jack, I'm gonna jump in. Great questions, and I think we did deal with all the questions that came in. We had another person ask about conversion of biomass to electricity, but I think we've already talked about that. Great presentation, Denny. I knew it would be, and it's a fascinating topic, I think. And thank you very much, and thank you, Jack, for
thanks, Denny,
for moderating that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jack, and thanks, Randy, and good night, everyone. Thanks for stopping in. We'll take care.
Okay, moving on, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Marissa Smirl is a student in her final year at the Riddell Faculty of Environment, Earth and Resources at the University of Manitoba. She's also the co-chair of MEIA's student chapter and a founding member of the Riddell Student Hub. She'll provide a short overview of the Riddell Student Hub and share some thoughts about how the hub might collaborate with MEIA. Over to you, Marissa.
Perfect, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. As Randy said, my name is Marissa Smirl, and I'm a student in the Faculty of Environment, Earth and Resources at the University of Manitoba. And as part of an initiative that was started by the new dean of our faculty, Dr. Flugmacher Lima, I'm working with 2 other students to create this Riddell Student Hub. And so for right now, what we're planning on doing is creating a website where students will be able to gain access to academic and professional resources. And it will also be a place where students will be able to have their research or creative works featured. So the slides that I'm showing are kind of just a preview of what our website will look like. So the first part is something Noelle Wood is putting together. And so she's creating a section of the website dedicated to featuring local sustainable businesses and providing resources to anyone who's looking to start a sustainable business. And will also feature tutorials and resources for at-home and professional repairs in an effort to encourage sustainability. And then Emily Throsky is creating a section of the website dedicated to showcasing student work such as their research, job opportunities in the environmental field, and their artistic work. And this is the challenge she has up right now, where she's asking people to take photos of different species they see around, and then they will be featured on our website once that's up and running. And then the final part that I'm working on is a section of the website that will help connect students with the wider community of organizations that are working in the environment, earth, and resources sectors. So this first page here is the calendar that I'm putting together that will feature events in those sectors that are open to the public or to students. And then the second part is this organization database. So that will allow students to read about organizations who have an interest in connecting with students and engaging them in their work. And then they'll be able to reach out and find out how they would best like to get involved. And we have about 20 organizations on there so far, and we're interested in kind of getting a wide reach as that as possible. And just for further information, our faculty includes environmental science and studies, physical and human geography, as well as geology and geophysics. And so we're hoping to have the website for a soft launch within the next month, and then we'll do our official launch in the fall. And if you are interested in having your organization partner with the Student Hub, I would invite you to send me an email. My email address is on the screen there, and I would be happy to connect with you and see how we can best make that happen. So I think that's everything I had.
Okay, thanks very much, Marissa. That's great information, and we're really excited about interacting with your student group going forward. So we'll certainly be talking further about how we can support each other in our respective goals.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Our next feature is a short video from PowerTech Solar. As I mentioned, they're a major sponsor of this evening's presentations. So Sarah, if you've got that teed up, we'll go to that. Good, thank you very much, Sarah. Now I'd like to introduce Jack Winram again. Jack is the Executive Director for MEIA, and he's just starting his second year in that role. Jack brings a wide-ranging background in industry, regulatory, and government. And Jack is going to highlight some of MEIA's key initiatives during this past year and the upcoming year. Over to you, Jack.
Thanks, Randy. I'm just going to share my screen. Assuming everybody can see that. I won't get into too much detail on MEIA. The past previous sessions in Mancia's conference, I spoke a little bit about what MEIA does. So what I'd like to do is just run through a quick slide deck, make an introduction, and talk about some of the new things that MEIA has been engaged with in the last year. This is our team. We don't run without the hard work from our team here, and these are our staff, Kara, Heather, and Sarah. And of course, Sarah is helping behind the scenes today. They're all a big part of all of these initiatives that I'm going to go through today. We also wouldn't be where we are today without some of these expert consultants. This is just a handful of them that work directly with MEIA. We've got Daryl Brown, Mike Fernandez, Tanis Osterman, and Daniel Friesen. So again, all part of our team. The history of MEIA, I wanted to highlight this slide, and I'm going to move quickly through these because I know Mancia is anxious to get onto their AGM, but this is MEIA's 30th anniversary, and we do have our AGM on April 14th, and we're celebrating that anniversary. So I encourage everyone to attend. There'll be some neat, fun things. You can visit our website to register for our AGM. So big plug for that. The other thing is that we became a sector council. This is new in the last year, not 2 years. Sector Council for Manitoba for the natural resources and energy and environment sector in Manitoba. So what that means is that we work on workforce development and help industry find the gaps, strengthen partnerships, lead collaborations to improve training opportunities. So that means engagement, awareness, and education. This is supported by economic development and jobs. So a provincial program, all part of the Sector Council program. Again, you can visit our website and Google that to find out more about our role as a Sector Council program. One of the new things that MEIA has been engaged with in the last year is more Indigenous engagement. We're looking at some programming for Indigenous housing inspector training. That's in development. Very popular. We've been running an Indigenous cultural awareness and engagement program for industry. To me, it's important if you're going to be the Sector Council for Natural Resources, Energy, and Environment. We need to be engaging with Indigenous communities, and part of that is just understanding some of the cultural and engagement. Also, workforce development, mining, and forestry, very large component in our work as a sector council, and very important to Indigenous engagement. We've got a safety first waste diversion training program that we're going to be launching here in the next couple of weeks that is focused for First Nation communities that are handling waste in their waste disposal and landfill sites. Some of the pictures I've seen of things that are happening out there in all our communities, municipalities, are quite alarming. So we decided to target, in partnership with ISC and a couple of communities, a pilot program to offer an online safety first waste diversion training program. One of the other really exciting things, of course, many of you will know that building envelope is a big part of energy efficiency and the future for us as Canadians, and greenhouse gas emission reductions, and we've identified this as an opportunity for Manitoba, or even another way to put it is a gap. The federal government is driving this. They've announced $2.6 billion over 7 years to help homes improve their energy efficiency. There's going to be up to 700,000 grants of up to $5,000 for energy efficiency. So that's a pretty significant driver. And what that means is that there will be EnerGuide pre and post retrofit evaluations will be a requirement for this grant eligibility. In Manitoba, one expert has unquantified provided an opinion that we're looking at possibly a need for 50 to 80 certified energy advisors in Manitoba in order to meet the demand of this federal government program. Just to give that in perspective, right now we have 3. So significant gap that we're working with a team, including Efficiency Manitoba, Red River College, to put together a program so that we can help train and certify energy advisors under the NRCan Certified Energy Advisors program. So it's an existing NRCan certification process, and so MEIA is going to be helping with some training and assistance in that front. One of the other exciting things is our renewable survey. Just a bit of background on this. We, MEIA in 2016 had commissioned a clean tech and environment sector survey. It was quite an extensive, large survey, but you know, it was 5 years ago now. So we met with our team of experts and thought about what would be the need, and given what we know is coming for the future and what's top of mind for everyone, is we decided to look specifically at renewables. So we just ran this survey in the last couple of months, and the data is just starting to come in and we're starting to process it. But I just wanted to give a bit of an overview. We got a pretty decent submission rate of 102 submissions. 70 of the respondents were involved with renewable energy related business or activities. 60 of the respondents are planning and expanding their work in the renewable energy sector. And you can see in this pie chart that we've got a good cross section of respondents. So I think what that tells us, if anything, is that it validates our data. You can see we got good representation from a lot of the renewable energy technologies, including waste to energy. Over half the respondents indicated a desire to expand their work in renewable energy activities. So that's, I think, quite a significant development. 13 of the organizations are planning to undertake a renewable energy project in the next 3 years. Again, speaking to the growth that we see coming. And over the last 5 years, full-time and part-time employment in renewables has more than doubled. One of the interesting things that came out of the survey was that when we asked if they're looking for managerial skills for training or technical skills, and it was an 80-20 split, which is quite interesting. This next slide breaks down that 80-20 split. Those are real numbers in the respondents, but you can see here's the top 10 of the managerial skills and training that these respondents indicated were a priority, and we asked them all to rank it. So in our final report, when it comes out, we'll have some pretty good data on where the low-hanging fruit is for targeting our workforce development dollars. So with that, I just wanted to thank everybody for attending today's MANCEA conference and listening to what MEIA's got going on. I do want to mention one of the slides I had eliminated was our student chapter, but very, very cool that Marissa was presenting here today. She's been co-chair of our student chapter for a few years now, and I got to tell you that our student chapter is one of the things that MEIA has that is really, really exciting. We work with our students and industry to connect them for jobs and awareness. So big kudos to Marissa, who's presented on something totally different topic today, but I do want to recognize her with all the work that her and the Executive Student Council have been involved with.
Good. Thanks very much, Jack. Great presentation, a lot of information there presented in a very short time. We appreciate
trying
that.
to be quick for you, Randy.
We appreciate it. And we really appreciate how closely we've worked with you over the past year, and we wouldn't have been able to put on these virtual conferences without the support from you and your staff. It's been a wonderful godsend for us.
Yeah, and I'll just thank you, and I'll just add that we're hoping to have our survey results in a final report available to the public and government and policymakers and industry sometime in May.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thanks again, Jack.
Okay.
I'd like to thank all the speakers, Denny, Marissa, and Jack, for the presentations this evening. Thank Jack and Sarah again for their support. in all three of the evenings that we've had, and prior to that in the series of webinars that we put on this past summer and fall. I'd like to invite everyone to stick around for our AGM, which we're going to be going into right now. And with that, I'll open up my presentation and share my screen. Okay, you should be seeing a screen with sponsors highlighted, and we'll go right forward to the next screen. Okay, towards a sustainable energy future is the theme for both the conference sessions and the AGM. This AGM is actually going to cover 2 years because with the cancellation of the conference that was planned for more than last April, April of 2020, we scuttled the conference and of course scuttled the AGM that was to have occurred there as well. This is just a quick list of the topics that we're going to cover tonight. And I should have said earlier, this is a meeting for our members, but we welcome any non-members to stay around if you're just interested in finding out more about MANCEA and what we've done in the past and what we plan to do in the future. So I'll just, I won't bother reading all those, but that's the things that we're going to cover this evening. And as I said, this AGM is covering the 2 years. Because we're still learning how to hold AGMs in this virtual environment, I'll explain how to second motions, how to ask questions, how to vote, all of those things. Any MANCEA member, and it is for members only, can second a motion, and of course only members can vote. Anyone, member or not, who has a question, please ask it in the chat feature. It is activated again now. And after we have moved and seconded a motion, we'll ask for questions regarding that. And if there are no questions, we'll ask for a vote. And because of some of the cumbersomeness of voting online, we'll just ask that if you are not in favor of a motion, that you say that in the chat. So not in favor of motion to pass whatever, and we'll record that vote accordingly. If no questions come in and there's no votes against, we'll consider a motion passed unanimously. This is the present board and has been since 2020. Wayne Ludman, who has been acting chair, has recently had some health concerns and has asked to step down as acting chair. I've been vice chair for the past year. Wayne Digby has been secretary treasurer during the past year and previous to that. Robert Elms is on our board and is involved in the Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association as well. Rob Altemeyer has joined our board in the past year. Jerry Parody is with Manitoba Geothermal Alliance. Lorena Mitchell is board member. Josh Sebastian is a board member. And Jack, who you've seen tonight, is our liaison with MEIA. And in exchange, we have Wayne Clayton, who acts as our liaison to the MEIA board. A little bit about MANCEA. We were incorporated in 2005. We're a not-for-profit and a nonpartisan group. We work with partners to encourage and support sustainable energy, and volunteer-based and managed by an elected board of directors and those members who you saw on the previous slide. Our goals on ever since we were formed, were to promote prosperity and quality of life with less dependency on fossil fuels. And we help to transition to renewable energies away from fossil fuels and to support economic development in the course of that. Just in terms of what happened at the 2019 AGM and the minutes from there, we purchased errors and omission insurance. We reviewed the financial situation at that point, elected directors, and discussed plans and goals. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the 2019 annual general meeting that was held April 10th, 2019 in Portage la Prairie. Wayne Digby is going to move that motion, and I'll ask for a seconder. If you can just put your name in the chat, we'll note who the seconder is. And if there are any questions, please also let us know in the chat. And I can't see my screen, so I can't tell if there's any questions or not, and whether we have passed the motion, but let's proceed on the basis that we have.
Wayne Clayton seconded it.
Very good. Were there any votes against or any questions, Wayne?
No.
Okay, very good. So we'll move on then to what's happened in the last 2 years. And these are the topics that will be discussed in the next few slides. So partnership development, collaboration with others, communications initiatives, conferences, webinars, etc. And then an update on the board of directors. Developing strategic partnerships with Manitoba Environmental Industries Association, as I've mentioned previously this evening. That's been a key accomplishment of the past couple of years. And also building on our reciprocal memberships with Manitoba Electric Vehicles Association and Manitoba Geothermal Energy Alliance, and more recently with Sustainable Buildings Manitoba. Robert, if you're available, can you come on and just give us a quick update of what's been happening with the Manitoba Electrical Vehicles Association and how that would be of interest to our members? Robert Elms.
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate all your help tonight, and great job that you and Sarah have been doing to make this a terrific meeting for everybody. This last year was the 10th anniversary of the Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association, also known as the Manitoba EV. Although circumstances prevented us from hosting any large in-person celebrations, in 2020, members eagerly engaged the public via Zoom. Our events featured some special guests, including a team of innovators from Carleton University. These industrial design students were winners of Project Aero, the prestigious EV design competition, which was organized by the Auto Parts Manufacturers Association of Canada. Another of our guests was EV pioneer Kent Rathwell, founder and CEO of Sun Country Highway. Almost a decade ago, this Prairie Boys company installed EV destination chargers right across Canada. It was the world's first transcontinental network of any type of electric vehicle charging stations. As you can imagine, Manitoba EV members love to talk about electric vehicles, but it seems to never be enough time to do that during the monthly general meetings. So in 2020, members enthusiastically decided to schedule extra meetings exclusively for that purpose. EV Talk, the association's new monthly online get-together, has become immensely popular. In addition to hosting our own meetings on Zoom, in 2020, Manitoba EV was pleased to begin hosting the monthly board meetings of the Manitoba Sustainable Energy Association. Over a year ago, as president of the Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association, I addressed the annual meeting of the Association of Manitoba Municipalities and a meeting of the Economic Development Association of Manitoba. These were opportunities to talk to mayors and municipal developers about the need for EV fast chargers throughout this province and about the benefits those chargers will bring to communities. Therefore, last year, Manitoba EV members were very pleased when the city councils of Dauphin and Thompson voted to partner with the federal and provincial governments to facilitate the installation of fast chargers in their respective communities. Since then, a fast charger has been opened in Dauphin, and a fast charger is expected to open before long in Thompson. Also, we're pleased that Eco West is helping dozens of municipalities apply for funding to acquire less expensive destination chargers. In 2020, Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association members demonstrated our determination to intensify our campaign for a fossil fuel-free transportation future by incorporating as a nonprofit organization. Also, we proudly adopted a new distinctly Manitoba logo. Over 8,000 Manitobans have switched to some type of electric vehicle. Of those, about 1 in 10 is an emission-free battery electric vehicle. From enthusiastic high school students who built their own electric bikes to seniors, throughout Manitoba, men and women of this association have driven plug-in electric vehicles happily for more than 10 years. Such experience proves that, despite its exhausting history, the future of transportation is clearly electric. And in the true north, members of the Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association are proud to be driving that challenge. Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Robert. A very good update. If I can ask Jerry Parody to come on and give us a quick update from the Manitoba Geothermal Alliance, please.
Okay. Yeah, good evening. As far as the MGA, we've been fairly quiet on the meeting side, but we have been in talks with Efficiency Manitoba and that, and I guess we'll say we're pleased to announce that there will be a retrofit incentive coming out from Efficiency Manitoba this year, this spring here. And we don't have all the details. It's not out in print yet, but it should be a fairly, it will be a fairly decent incentive. So we're glad to be able to announce that and that. So, and as far as that, that's about all we have to say right now. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. With that, we'll carry on with our slides. In terms of other activities that have occurred in the past couple of years, we did meet as a group with Efficiency Manitoba. At the time, they were making their plans and have since gotten that plan approved and are now embarking on their programs to encourage energy consumption, reduction of energy consumption. We attended Manitoba Regenerative Agriculture Session, Manitoba Eco Network meetings, Climate and Green Plan Sector Working Group. Rob Altemeyer, who's part of our board, is quite involved in that. Manitoba Community Climate Action that Rob is involved in as well as the groups that I mentioned earlier, MEIA, MGEA, and SBM. SANDGEO group was an initiative that got going a number of years ago and is still struggling to survive, but is still surviving. ICE is the Indigenous Clean Energy Group that we had a webinar with and cooperated with this past year. U of W, U of M, UM Earth, which is a group from University of Manitoba, and the MEI survey that Jack mentioned. We helped to distribute that to our membership as well. Members may have questions about communication. It's always an area that I think is true. It's true in most volunteer organizations that it's it's always an area that we feel could be improved. We hope that younger and more social media oriented people like Kate Robb, who is a nominee to join our board now, and Marissa Smirl, who you heard from earlier this evening, and Lorena Mitchell. They are much more savvy in the social media world than a number of us are, and we're learning from them and getting better at it, we hope. One of the things we've done this well this past year, but previous years as well, is send a set of questions to the political parties as we approach elections, either federal or provincial, and then shared the responses from those with our membership. It's not a partisan activity at all. It's we give all the political parties a chance to respond, and we pass along what information they've provided to us on their positions on various renewable and sustainable energy related parameters. As I mentioned, we've done a number of activities to reach out to memberships and non-members. The 2019 conference was focused on energy on the farm and home front, and evaluations of that were very positive. And all indications were that the presentations were very well received. The 2020 conference that was to have been in April of 2020 in Morden was shaping up to be a great event. We had really good sponsor support, for which we thank all our sponsors. We had very good sign up from people wanting to attend. The city of Morden was great to work with, and unfortunately, just because of COVID, and as I mentioned earlier, the annual meeting that was planned for April had to be postponed. We put on a number of sustainable energy webinars this past year in conjunction with MEIA. The first biomass boiler in a public school in Manitoba was a very popular webinar, and very well attended, and good comments back. Optimizing geothermal design webinar was held later on in the summer, and then the Indigenous Clean Energy session was also well attended, and we had speakers from that group presenting at that webinar, and that was one that MEIA took more of a lead on. The 2021 conference sessions, which have all been virtual, the results have certainly been good. March 23rd, March 30th, and tonight, they were all well attended. Good indication that people didn't log out early, and they had lots of good questions, so that's encouraging. The March 23rd evening that was based around solar had about 80 people, so there's very good interest in that topic. March 30th last week was built around biomass, and we had about 56 people attend that evening, and tonight we're in the 50 to 70 range. I saw some numbers earlier on that looked like we were getting well up towards 70. So that's very good, and we're thankful and pleased that so many people attended. Just in terms of activities that the board of directors were involved in and what happened, we purchased directors and officers and general liability insurance to protect the board and the association against any kind of mishaps. We reviewed the bylaws and did some updating there. Wayne Ludman assumed the role of chair about a year ago as acting chair. Of course, there was financial reporting to the board that was continued and enhanced. There was some movement on and off the board, and we'll mention some names of past directors that we're recognizing tonight. The board continues to meet monthly, and it's an active group of volunteers that put a lot of time and effort into the work of the association to promote sustainable energy. Oh, I should have mentioned that Dinocephalus was recognized as helping us out with the bylaw review. Any questions at all? Haven't seen any coming in. Okay, if not, we'll please, if you have any, please submit them whenever you like, and we'll carry on to just recognize some past board members that we'd like to acknowledge. The names are there: Kevin Hebert, Brad Grouse, Derek Penner, Andrew Meyer, Clint Pinder, and Ken. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that name.
Wojnarski.
Okay, thanks, Wade. And with that, I think we're on to presentation from Wayne Digby on the financials. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Wayne, if you can share yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. I'll just see if I can find what I'm looking for here. And are you seeing that now?
Yes, yes, it's good, Wayne.
Okay, I'm just going to make it a bit bigger here. Well, thank you very much, Randy. And I'm just going to give you an overview of the finances. And first of all, I want to say, and a big hats off to Wayne Clayton for his untiring input into the sponsorship area. Wayne does a lot of work, good work in contacting businesses, potential members, and it's really appreciated. Also, a big thank you to our sponsors, our basic business members, individual members, friends of MEIA, etc., for their ongoing support. It's been really important. And I hope that some of you had an opportunity to take a look at the finances that were in the link that we provided you. What I'm going to go over in a little bit of detail is the statement of surplus and deficit. We're going to do the actuals for 2019 and 2020, and then we'll touch on the actuals for up till the end of March, and then the forecast, and so we'll end up with the forecast total for 2021. So we started 2019 with a bank balance of 4435. As Randy mentioned, our 2019 conference, the registrations and sponsorship was quite good, along with good membership support, ending up with a total revenue of in the area of 7125. On the expense side, we had of course, the conference expenses, the director's insurance. This would be the first year that we've had the insurance, which is quite significant for a small organization. And then very minimal operating expenses, or total expenses in the area of 4559 for a surplus of 2555. So going into 2020, we started off with around 7,000 as a balance, and things were looking real good. As Randy mentioned, the program looked good. We had excellent early registrations. Wayne again had lined up a good bunch of sponsors, and then the pandemic took over. And so first of all, we postponed, and then we finally canceled the conference, and we ended up refunding practically all of the registrations. There was a couple of people said, nah, just leave them in, carry them forward. As I mentioned, the sponsorship support was good, and we were very fortunate in that some of our sponsors wanted their money left in, and it was rolled over to 2021. So this figure down here, 1555, is the funds that were rolled over into 2021. So we ended up 2020 with a deficit in the of 954, and we took that into 2021. So what we have here is we have the actuals for up till pretty well the end of March. There's been some funds come in after that, and then we have the forecast for the remaining part of the year. So we've lumped it together into the forecast total for 2021. And on the revenue side, we've shown actually the registrations for our conference have been quite good. The membership process that we used of encouraging membership through the registrations for the virtual conference have been very good. And then we have had new sponsors come on. And in addition, we've had the funds that were rolled over from the previous year. So we have a total revenue of actual and projected of 8,200. And that, I think that's probably going to be pretty close, if not maybe a little bit low. On the expense side, we have the insurance again, which continues to go up. We have some expenses for the conference in the promotion area mostly. We have set aside $2,000 for special project initiatives. And this is an area that we just want to make sure that we have some funds available as we move forward on special initiatives. So I think it's important for members to realize that we do have some resources, not huge, but some. And then a few items like a little bit for travel. And we do need to do a bit of work on our MEIA website, and which might require some funds in that area. So total expenditures of 5236, and we're projecting a surplus in around the $3,000 mark, and ending up with a checking balance roughly around the $9,000 mark. So Randy, that's the financials for MEIA, and we have had these reviewed by our reviewer, Irene Bromley, and she has indicated that Wayne, I have reviewed the books for MEIA for the years 2019 and 2020. In my opinion, the financial statements reflect the accurate position of the business. Wayne, you have done a good job with PayPal. Sincerely, Irene. And a reference to PayPal is that PayPal it's a really a neat feature, but it does get a little bit hairy when you're trying to keep track of the finances on the refunding, etc. So Randy, I would like to move the acceptance of the financial report for 2019 and 2020.
Very good, Wayne. Thank you. And if we could have someone put their name in the chat as seconder. Robert Elm seconds. Anyone opposed to accepting the motion to accept the financial report? Please note that. And if not seeing any, we'll declare that motion accepted. And Wayne, I think you were going to make a motion to accept, to appoint a reviewer for next year.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve having Irene Bromley review the MEIA finances for 2021.
And likewise, if I could get a seconder, someone put it in the chat. Robert is going to do that again. Okay, so Robert Elms is seconding as well. And once again, unless you are opposed, or if you are opposed to that, please say so in the chat.
Randy, I didn't go over the balance sheet, but I think people had it in front of them. Fairly straightforward. If you want, you can put it up, whatever.
You just want to put it up just so that everybody gets a chance to see it, Wayne, in case they didn't
Sure. See
look
if
earlier.
this is it here. Can you see that?
I'm still seeing the revenue, I believe.
Oh, okay. How do I? Oh, resume. Can you see it yet?
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's up there now.
Okay. So that's the as of March 29, 2021. And like I say, there's funds still coming in, but as of that date, the total assets in 9106. Memberships, total accumulated surplus. Fairly straightforward.
Okay, so it indicates we have a healthy bank balance going forward, so we can
Yeah,
have some money to do some special initiatives. Good, thanks, Wayne. If you
I'll
can
stop with
unshare your screen now,
there.
and I'll share mine.
If there's any questions, I'll try to handle them.
Yeah. If there are any questions, please into the chat.
I'll get rid of this.
Okay, carrying on. Areas of focus for 2021 and beyond. There we are. We'll be sending you a survey with a link that'll provide you the ability to watch the recorded versions of the webinars that we've held tonight and the previous 2 weeks. And we're planning to hold some interactive sessions with members and interested people to get ideas about what our priorities should be for the future. But these are ones that we've identified as to some extent ongoing priorities and initiatives, continuing to work with the like-minded associations that we've discussed before, but also looking more to work with RMs and town councils, cross-section of industries with Manitoba Hydro, Efficiency Manitoba, and the provincial government. All those groups have been identified. We'd like to do more work to identify and minimize barriers to development of sustainable energies in Manitoba, and we'll continue to work on improving our communication programs. That's not a criticism at all, because a lot of this falls on Wayne Digby's shoulders, and he does a great job, but time and resources are the limiting factor. Yeah, I think we'll go next. And of course, the ongoing conferences, which have tended to be the focus of our activity most years. But that comes back to, we need your input, and we're suggesting that if there's sufficient interest, we'd like to suggest a special meeting on April the 22nd at 7 p.m. That's 2 weeks from Thursday of this week. So Thursday this week plus 2 weeks ahead. We'd like to make it open to all MEIA members and non-members as well to come forward and say whether you'd be interested in doing that. And we've just had a poll pop up. You should be seeing it on your screen now. Would you attend a session on Thursday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. to provide your input to MEIA? Yes or no? Respond to that. That would be great. And Sarah will tally those results for us. We really are looking for input from a wide cross section of people, and especially if you're involved in those groups that we mentioned, such as RM councils, town councils, or in economic development. That's another area that we see some real potential synergies with sustainable energy. And after that, as we form our new executive and structure the board for the future, we'll certainly consider those in formalizing our plans going forward.
Randy, if I might interject.
Yes, go ahead, Wayne.
Just for the interest of people, we have had really good attendance from the rural municipalities. I think we're in the area of 40 or more people that are participating in the virtual conference are representing rural municipalities. We've worked with RMs before and community development people, and I think certainly we see that as a potential area. So we'd be interested in people's opinions and what they're looking for and that type of thing.
Good, thanks, Wayne. And in fact, I should have gone to the next slide because that's exactly what we're talking about, the opportunity to work more closely with the RMs and towns, and how we might help planning for climate change impacts and things like that. And we'd really like to strengthen our relationship with municipal and town councillors to improve our understanding and share information about challenges and barriers, as I mentioned earlier. The next section gets us into the board of directors and the election of new directors. The board can be from a minimum of 3 members to a maximum of 20, and we're right kind of in the middle of that range. Article 34 specifies that the board shall elect its officers and structure itself at its first reorganizational meeting that happens after this AGM. So that's something we organize at our next board meeting. I'd like to acknowledge the past year's board. This was the board for 2020-21. Wayne Ludman, as I mentioned, was acting chair. Myself as vice chair. Rob Altemeyer joined us during the year. Lorena Mitchell, Josh Sebastian, Robert Elms, Wayne Digby, and Jerry Parody have been ongoing members and continue to be in the past year. Wayne Clayton, who had been a longtime member and has continued to work tirelessly for MEIA, stepped off the board, but we managed to get him back again to be our liaison to the MEIA board, and he's continued to be involved in that, as well as being the fundraising chair and sponsorship chair for the conference activities that we've done. So he's continued to be a great asset for us. As I mentioned, Wayne wishes to step down as acting chair, but we believe he will remain as a director. We're leaving that a little bit up in the air until he overcomes a few health challenges that he's been facing recently. We have 4 nominations to the board, which we're very excited about. Kate Robb was a presenter at our second evening. Maybe it was the first evening, I've forgotten now, probably was the first. Anyway, she made a presentation on some of the work that she's been doing in her master's student program at the U of W. Daniel Lakovetsky, co-owner of PowerTech Solar and PowerTech Electric, has agreed to put his name forward to the board. So with both Daniel and Lorena, we've got 2 of the premier solar installers in the province supporting our board. And Clarence Yonker from Southern Comfort Mechanical He's agreed to join our board. And lastly, Thomas McLeod, an Economic Development Officer with Russell Binscarth Community Development, has agreed to put his name forward. And in all cases, there's been a nominator and a seconder for each of these nominations. And they provided bio information for us that we put up on the website. So you can go there and read the details of their backgrounds. All of the current members, with the possible exception of Wayne Ludman, have agreed to continue to serve. So your slate will be the 4 new nominees plus the existing board. And as we said, we're not quite sure with Wayne Ludman whether his intention is to stay on the board. We believe so, but we're not sure. So we'll have either, I think it's either 12 or 13 members going forward. We'd ask for your endorsement and your agreement to elect that slate. And if you have any concerns about anyone and wish not to vote for that slate, please advise us of that in the chat.
It's Wayne Clayton here. I would move that those nominated be elected as MEIA Board of Directors until the next AGM of MEIA.
Thanks, Wayne. So we have a mover. Do we have a seconder?
Robert Elms, second.
Robert Elms, second. Okay. Now, with that, we can, I jumped ahead of myself. We can vote on that now. If you are opposed for any reason, please let us know in the chat. Okay, not seeing any, we'll move on.
Send me that, Wayne.
Sorry?
I'm just asking Wayne Clayton to send me his motion.
Oh, okay. Anyone have any new business, either in the chat if you're not online?
So Randy, what did the survey come back? People generally available?
Not sure. Sarah, are you? Oh, yeah, Sarah's just posted the results. 89% said yes, 11% said no to the meeting on the 22nd. So we will proceed to plan that meeting for April 22nd at 7 p.m. And we'll set it up so that it will be interactive. Everybody can have their video and microphones on to provide their input. Very good. Any other new business?
Before we, are you closing soon, Randy, or?
Closing soon, yes.
Well, I would just like to, on behalf of everybody, express our appreciation to Randy for heading and coordinating the whole kind of virtual conference, and a particular thank you to Sarah and Jack and many others that assisted with the process. And thank you to the members for attending. Great job.
Thank you, Wayne. I couldn't have said it better myself. So we really appreciate the great attendance that we've had and all the work that went into to making this possible, especially the support from MEIA. I really don't think we could have done this nearly as well, if at all, without their great support. So
we can't forget the work that Wayne Digby does too. MEIA owes Wayne Digby a huge round of applause or whatever, because Wayne Digby has been with this organization longer than anybody, and Wayne Digby has kept this organization afloat. And we all owe Wayne a debt of gratitude for the work that he's done. Promotion, particularly around the conference, but he's kept this organization afloat. So a big thank you to Wayne Digby.
Thank you, Wayne.
Heartily agree with that as well. Thanks, everybody. Not seeing any more questions that we haven't already dealt with. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I would move the meeting be adjourned.
Okay, I will accept that and declare the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody, very much, and have a great rest of your evening.
Well done, Randy.
Yep, I'm still here, Robert.
Yeah, just wanted to say well done. Very, very well done.
Oh, thank you.
I think we have to give you a double thanks because those of us who are already on the board know full well the tremendous effort that you put forward last year to make sure that we were going to have a terrific conference. And so this conference, really, we should be saying that it's at least a double thanks.
Thank you.
I
Did
agree.
you have a chance to talk to Wayne Ludman and all? Or
No, I did not. The opportunity that I'd hoped to have yesterday didn't come about, and I really want to sit down and spend a little time teasing him, and so I'm going to have to sit down and write a few good jokes before I call him. And
Sure.
Wayne deserves nothing but the best when it comes to ribbing, so I'll make sure that I take a couple of minutes tomorrow to do exactly that.
Excellent. Well, thank you for doing that, and I'll look forward to what you learned and how he's doing.
Yeah, and as soon as I hear anything, I'll pass on to everybody for sure.
Good. Okay. Thank you to everybody that was involved in speaking and organizing, and Marissa, if you're still on the line, thanks a lot for your participation.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great. Look forward to talking to you again.
Yes.
Sarah, if you're still there, thanks very much for everything you've done. It's been great.
You're welcome. No problem at all.
Okay. Sometime in the next few days, maybe we can do a post-mortem and just see if we've identified anything we could have done better and that sort of thing. But I think it went off pretty flawlessly.
Yeah, of course. Reach out whenever you'd like to schedule that. I'd be happy to sit down with you.
Okay. Very good. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.